Hey, it's that Steve. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick video just summarizing my experiences, my recent experience with RAKSHASA. That's an official pronunciation, but also known as R1. Not to be confused with R9, which is Ronaldo. Okay. So, do I think it conceptually has potential? Yeah, most definitely. Conceptually, most definitely it has potential, but I'm coming to this from a free-to-play perspective. Okay, so this account for me is 100% free-to-play. I've got other games I play, like Rise of Kingdoms, which are pay-to-play, right? But for this one, free-to-play, right? So, long story short, to get what you need out of RAKSHASA, starting off with this first skill, which is Soul Put starting off with this first skill, which is Plunder Vitality, you need to get this higher than what it is. Or you got to find a way which is going to generate your health to rise. Right, so in earlier videos, literally like day after I got it, I was talking about Shatter Soul. And that's not wrong, but at the same time, that really was, well, you got to have Nareed, you got to play that with RAKSHASA, and then you have to have these what's it called now, artifacts, wherever they are. And when you put all those things together, fair enough, Shatter Soul most definitely can work. With this setup I got right here, most definitely can work, and you'll get something out of RAKSHASA. Especially if you got like two Aquarius like I go. So technically, and this is where I was coming from, you can get something out of RAKSHASA, but you got to remember, you got 10 cards. There's no guarantee that you're going to get Nareed and RAKSHASA and the perfect balance of everything in order to do what I've just suggested is possible. Which means you need to wait a couple of rounds with Nareed and RAKSHASA in play or something like that, or wait for them both to be ready to play, and might not happen, and RAKSHASA might get damaged, which means you won't do the next vital step of what you need in order to remove people from the enemy's graveyard, long story short. Right, 500 direct damage. Okay, so say if you're hitting 3 or 4 creatures, that's 1,500 to 2,000 extra HP that RAKSHASA gets. But after the enemy's completed their round, you might have lost 3,000. You know what I mean? So you're kind of chasing the game, which is why I said you can't have everything. And it still has that potential. And that's why I was getting a little bit confused with the whole Shatter Soul thing. Long story short, you're going to need this Plunder Vitality. You're going to have to think of a way you can get enough of the skill essence in order to get this up. Right, so this is a level 7. And if I added this right now, wow, I'm getting 70. And that's what I'm talking about. So realistically, for free to play, how are you going to get it? How are you going to get this Plunder Vitality up? And the answer is, I think, you need to save a stack of gems. And I'll have to double check this on the next spending day. I think when you spend an awful lot of gems, if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong, you get higher skill essence that you could potentially use towards this. And if that is correct, and I will check, then potentially this Plunder Vitality can be where it needs to be to generate the damage, which gives you the HP in order for the main skill to keep on triggering. And if that's not possible for you, or that ain't going to happen, forget RAKSHASA. Long story short, in my point of view, right? And the other things you could do, which I alluded to before, which help, especially if you're going down the Nareed route, is, maximize your violence, maximize your protein and the vitality, because with Nareed, attack and health gets converted into health, and it's health that matters, right? In terms of the third skill, right? But we're still on the first skill. So with 500 direct damage, you might get one person out of the graveyard realistically, but maybe not two, is what I'm saying. Right. This second skill. Right, so you get 50 for each creature in your opponent's graveyard, remembering that RAKSHASA's skill removes people from the graveyard. So there's two problems here. 50 is not a lot, and it's definitely not enough. Even if it was 100, it wouldn't be anywhere near enough, really. Level 5 should be 100 minimum, not 50. Gosh, man, yeah, it's not serious. It's not serious, so it's not going to happen this way. It's just not going to happen this way. I might as well have kept this at Soul Devour 1, is my advice. You might as well have kept it there. if you're struggling for skill essence, and then maybe put more into this, then maybe this would have been Vitality 6, because this one I've got here, the level 7, that is not from a purchase reward. This was from Lucky Spin. And I'm not totally sure, but I think on the spending reward, you get 2 of those. That maybe, and I could be wrong, get this to level 6. But even then, that would be Plunder Vitality dealing 600 direct damage instead of 5. And I'm not sure. Yeah, it's going to help. Really, you need it to be... You need to be 1,000, really, as close to 1,000 as possible. And then you're hitting 3 or 4 creatures and getting your 4,000. You're just popping people out of the graveyard. That's where you want to be. 900, not quite there, but maybe close enough. 800, maybe the lower limit. 700 is like bare minimum. That's my thoughts. Soul Devour I've talked about, maybe a waste of time. Overall, because 50 is not enough. Then we get to Soul Purge. Right, so the main thing that you need to be aiming for is 6,000 HP in order to pop people out of the graveyard, right? You can't rely on Soul Devour to get your HP up. So how are you going to get your HP up to the 6,000? In the recent video, my first thought was, well, yeah, as I said, Nareed, and the artifact. So listen, if I'm doing one-on-one like manual battles, then I can do it. I could have, I say this Plunder Vitality at level 8, level 9, level 10, and be fine with that, and pop people out the graveyard, exactly what I want, right? I'm not there yet. Or have basically, what meld do I have as a 4 skill in order to get the most out of Soul Purge? So, yeah, I could do it without a useful 4 skill, as I say, and just use Nareed, or I do what everybody does, which is probably the recommended thing, and go with Sacrifice, and then that will put me above the 6,000 that I need, and I may well need to upgrade that Sacrifice in order for that to be possible. And then, as I say, if you've got the Sacrifice and you got Plunder Vitality at a high level, let's say with the 800 or 900 or 1,000 damage to each person, to each enemy creature, which gets converted into HP for you, yeah, destroying everybody in their graveyard, and that's got to be awesome, right? Or Shatter Soul. But yeah, if I was gonna do Shatter Soul, it would have to be with that Nareed strategy. It'd have to be. So I think where people are getting frustrated is, this is not a lot of damage, even at 800-900, right? It's not a lot of damage. The only real benefit comes from if you manage to get people in the graveyard and keep them there and not take damage, so you don't go too far below 6,000, and you got an effective way of generating damage or HP in whatever way in order to get the 6,000 HP that you need for this to be worth putting in the deck. And there's a lot of ifs. So with that kind of damage that you're likely to receive in mind, Shatter Soul might well be one of the answers. But again, now how do you get that 6,000 up without using the Reed? And then there's going to be times where you just something happens to the Reed. Maybe it gets disposed and put straight into play before you can play it with RAKSHASA, because you need to play it with RAKSHASA R1. As I say, not to be confused with R9, which is Ronaldo. R1 RAKSHASA. Lot of ifs. So yeah, again, pick your poison. Either RAKSHASA, Shatter Soul, Nareed, in that perfect combination, playing RAKSHASA R1 with Nareed, right? And Shatter Soul will keep it topped up towards 6,000 potentially. That's one way to look at it. And most definitely the safe way is with Sacrifice. And at least with Sacrifice, if RAKSHASA dies several times, every time it's brought into play, the Sacrifice will take its HP to where it needs to be. So I think maybe, sensibly, on balance, yeah, should be Sacrifice. And also, yeah, definitely Sacrifice. And work on Plunder Vitality. There we go, that's a whole... RAKSHASA. One other thing that came to mind as well recently, and I know there is a wiki, I think it's a wiki, yeah, talking about potential melds, and I have looked at it, and I basically done a switcheroo and what I think is necessary for this Undying Will. Right, I did start off with a detonate meld, but now I've got the experience with the insta-kill rune that I put onto Death's Angel, which I think is all round better than the Undying Will. I'm going to be honest with you, and I got lucky with my full skill and my Death's Angel. The lucky for skill was immunity, which is just crazy useful, just immensely useful. You've already got basically the insta kill with the rune to cover what you need it to do, and that's going to tell you a lot of the answers. And it's at 50% chance to stay on the board basically once destroyed with the insta kill rune at level 10. However, that won't happen if it doesn't insta-kill on the other side, aka if the other side has got effective immunity, right? In which case, this insta-kill skill won't be useful. So even if you've got detonates, if you can't insta-kill the other side, or they've got the balance of immunity on their side is quite high, it's a waste of time, right? So I don't know if it's basically what I'm saying is I don't know if it's worth preserving the main skill of an Undying Will with the insta-kill skill and the insta-kill rune if it ain't going to do anything. So in order to have a chance that it can do something, you keep it as it is with the skill that it comes with, insta-kill, you put the rune on it. The full skill I don't think should be detonate for the reasons I've just kind of alluded to. It should probably be revive. I wouldn't put anything else on an Undying Will other than revive. And you may get lucky, as I said, and insta-kill will kill somebody on the other side. If it dies, then when it dies, just thinking through this insta-kill skill, and then your revive will actually keep somebody in, bring somebody back from the death. Death revive is what you'd be looking for, in my point of view, and best of luck with that. And if you're a billionaire, then you'd put a revive rune on on that 4-skill revive meld, and happy days. It's going to be better than anger. Definitely better than anger. All is good. Hope you found that useful. Let me know your thoughts on 4 skills for Undying Will. I've got some absolutely amazing feedback in terms of R1, otherwise known as the RAKSHASA. Where is she? And excuse me, I do have a cold at the moment, so it's not helping me. And she's good potentially, but with lots of compromise. I think has to be a sacrifice meld. I've completely put it out of my mind from this video about the Shatter Soul, mainly because of the limitations of Soul Devourer, like I talked about, and because it's not about increasing HP, it's also increasing the max HP. Can't rely on a read, like I was alluding to, or one of my initial ideas or hopes. You need a high plunder vitality. And I think about this in relation to, you need a high plunder vitality, you need sacrifice, basically. And I was thinking about whether this is better or worse than Cyber Eye. Worse. No, sorry, Cyber Eye is worse. It's better. So it's better. R1 is better than Cyber Eye in my point of view, just because Cyber Eye doesn't do any damage. Yes, it's got rebirth. Yes, you can put the rune on it, and it'll kind of do a little circle lap for you. That's great, and that is useful. And I do like the immunity as well. Oh my gosh, and the Vaporize can keep that chain going. But then again, you've got that insta-kill problem again with Cyber Eye. So yeah, it probably does need to be a detonate meld. You keep popping people out of the graveyard, and that's very, very useful potentially. And it'll be at a 40% chance when it's the detonate rune is at level 10. Gives you a 40% chance to preserve life by 1, and 1 is all you need. Not awful. It doesn't do damage though. It does not do damage. So instead, if you're going to have either, I would go for, well, listen, you can either do the RAKSHASA, but you've got to do heavy investment for something which has its limitations, or you can do minimal investment and go with the Cyber Eye. And they're definitely not going to be either. Is going to make your end game best of all situations deck most Well, actually, I think R1 would probably be more likely to make it than a Cyber Eye. If I had that first skill very high to at least 1,000 plus everything else and sacrifice, of course it'll make this deck. You know, this is a work in progress. I've got Capricorn at the moment, for goodness sake. I would definitely find room for it, and I do actually need to upgrade this sacrifice uh, when I can. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on R1. I think I've already got some thoughts in general. Yeah, I think it has to be a sacrifice meld, doesn't it? At the end of the day, and I think yeah, you've got to somehow find a way to upgrade that first skill, and I think it's on a spending reward day. There's an awful lot of gems though I think you need to spend. Um, yes. I'm thinking about even if there is that thing there, how many rounds of that would you need to wait for your flaming Alice Bond? You could be waiting a year basically in order to get that skill up to where it probably needs to be. The sacrifice thing not so hard, and generating copies in order to get that sacrifice meld, obviously possible. Anyway, please let me know your thoughts. Please like, subscribe. That is Steve, and I'm out.